Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 3 at 3 on Solar PV. I'm Jenn Runyon, Chief Editor of Renewable Energy World.
And I'm Paula Mintz, Chief Market Research Analyst, SPV Market Research.
Okay, great. So we've got three topics. We're going to talk about them for 3 minutes each. The topics today are the price of PV, solar as a commodity, and then we're going to move on to a market discussion about the Middle East. So let's start with price, Paula. You're noticing some stuff, or you're,
Who wouldn't notice? I mean, it's an absolute price crash. If I was showing you a chart now, last year's average globally was about 71 cents. What people don't understand about a global average, it takes in everything.
Okay.
Down to, at this point in the U.S., you can get modules at 38 cents. They're not inventory, or essentially they're inventory, but not inventory that's been sitting there for 2 years. It's very complicated. I'm not going to get into that. And, the average is probably below 50 cents right now. Wow. It is not reflective of price.
Why is it so low? It's just over capacity stuff sitting around?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no.
Always.
Best answer to any question.
Always complicated.
A long time ago. It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually pretty clear. So most of the capacity to produce cells and modules is in China.
Okay.
And China overbuilt this year. They're going to be somewhere between 25 gigawatts and 28 to 30, actually probably 25 and 28 at this point. Chinese government wanted 15 gigawatts a year. Pretty healthy market, right?
Yeah, sure.
Given the high degree of curtailment, unprofitability of developers, lack of payment of the FIT. It's a lot of building. It's sort of emblematic of our industry, another topic. But, so they basically said stop. And that's stranded probably between 3 and 5, literally gigawatts of modules. They're going to go somewhere. This is going to be, I'm waiting for so we have layoffs starting, even with Chinese manufacturers.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the dumping conversation to start. And the legal term of dumping, pretty much globally, what is dumping is when a price is sold into the market that's importing the product or the good at a lower price from the domestic market. That's not the case here. It actually wasn't the case before. It's just, this isn't even aggressive pricing. This is slightly more complicated than overcapacity. It's not going to stop for a while. And that's pressuring manufacturers to, outside of China and possibly inside of China to lay off. It's just, so I want to really...
Okay, so wait, so you say for a while. How long is a while? Like a year?
Potentially towards the end of the year. Got to work off the end
of this year, 2016.
The end of this year, okay. Possibly trickling into next year. Let's wait and see how much people buy. Prices this low, it's like, okay, I love purses, right? I wander into Louis Vuitton and everything's at, a third of the normal price. I'm buying me some purses, girl. They're going to sit in the closet, but I'm buying those purses.
Yeah.
That's a terrible analogy, but it is an analogy and it's apt.
Yeah, well, sure. So that's what the distributors ought to be doing if they love solar, right? They want to stock up.
And developers, et cetera. But on the other hand, that means there's going to be a whole lot of inventory sitting on the demand side next year, which may mean that which will likely mean shipments in 2017 are lower because stuff is sitting. Mm-hmm. So shipments should be higher this year than installations. Next year, installations should be higher than shipments, if that makes any sense. All based on these really low prices, which are not, for people who are listening, dumping. It's very painful, though, to manufacturers that are having to, cannot compete in this market.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's 3 minutes. It's a little more. Let's move on to commodity. So you're seeing, you want to talk about how solar is becoming a commodity. I mean, in my perspective, I'm not seeing that happen, and I'm not hearing those discussions. I did a long time ago, but I haven't heard that in a while.
I think it's because it's generally accepted right now, and that's pretty sad. It's really the solar module. So I really became impassioned about this again when I was at SPI, and it's not a technical conference. I was in a focus group and talking to other people on the floor, other people I know, installers, etc. And this does actually relate to price. And all of them were saying, nothing more needs to be done. It's just a diode. tire that generates electricity for, potentially 30 years and that takes 20 years of research and development to commercialize. Yes, that's a commodity for you. Anyway, there's a misunderstanding. I'm sitting in, particularly in this focus group, and then more and more conversations, and honestly, even among people that should know better, it is that the solar panel is the commodity. So the truth is electricity is the commodity.
Right.
Absolutely the case.
Right.
The solar module is a highly complex piece of technology. We're forgetting that in the industry, and it really concerns me. Mm-hmm. A lot of that does go directly down to price, because you see commodity-type behavior in the price, which is a much longer discussion than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm going to be writing an article for REW. You can look forward to as soon as I actually do it this week.
Good.
Anyway.
But so, I mean, price is important. Price is really important to developers, of course. Isn't it? I mean, shouldn't it be?
It is, but not when the price falls. When you're... So part of the problem is industry-wide. Even people that should know better celebrate these low prices, jump up and down, say, isn't this great? This is progress. The Chinese just do it better, blah, 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 blah. Not true. Much more complicated than that. And what that has fed into is the commoditization of our industry in general. Utility scale does it. It's out from the load. You're not personally involved in it. You need to be personally, and this, weirdly is a branding thing in a way. You have to be, personally involved with your product. Now, as a homeowner, you install solar on your roof, you're going to be personally involved with it, unless you're leasing, which is another whole topic for us some other time. But you're then personally involved. Mm-hmm. It's not a commodity when you're putting it on your roof. Your refrigerator is not a commodity. Your stove, if you like to cook, is not a commodity.
True. All true.
It's a misunderstanding and feeds into, honestly, a drift away from funding basic research. Because if we don't fund basic research, there are no improvements. And if we think that everything that could possibly be done has been done, we're not going to fund basic research. If we view it as a commodity, we're not going to put that much money into making it better and adding nuance. It's not really just about price and efficiency.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we could go on and on and on about that. But I've got a market that people really need to pay attention to. Okay, so this, we had a webcast on Monday on solar in the Middle East and North Africa.
I know you've been excited about this.
Right. And so one of our panelists was Mark Norman from Chadbourne Park, and he presented the business case for DG solar in Jordan. So what he said is the price that utilities, okay, let me make sure I get it all right. So the national utilities generation and distribution cost is 22 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay, that's their wholesale cost. So they're selling power to, for example, a bank at 40 cents a kilowatt hour, and a high consuming telecom company as high as 42 cents a kilowatt hour. So now we've seen projects in these regions come in at 6, 7, 8 cents a kilowatt hour. That's quite a margin. So if you want to build some solar DG, go on over to Jordan. As long as you can beat 40 cents a kilowatt hour, you're going to make a bank or a telecom really, really happy. Of course, it's difficult to do business in those kinds of markets. There's other challenges, but the price is right.
Well, I would, that looks like a good opportunity, and in quite a few markets where it would look like solar should be able to, I'm just going to talk about from what I've seen historically.
Yeah.
We always end up bidding lower than we should. There are unprofitable bids out in the Middle East right now. As we know there are unprofitable bids. We're celebrating bids below 4 cents.
And they're not. Yeah, and we made it clear on that webcast, those have not come to financial close. They may never, get built. However, 15, 20 cents, you're still going to be coming in half of what those companies are being charged.
And I agree with you. If we actually behave and bid a reasonable amount that allows for profit, then yeah, great market. I totally agree with you. It's sort of let's wait and see,
Yeah.
because the big secret about solar, it's not a secret. It's the upfront cost of installation.
Right.
After that, and if you fund appropriately O&M, which those higher prices would allow you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a completely different O&M needed there than you need in the desert in the U.S. is something similar, but dust differs everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
The that gets on the panel and must be cleaned off,
Yeah.
particularly in that part of the world, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Sandstorms are a real thing.
Exactly. So if you could bid a rate that makes you highly competitive, allows you to appropriately fund your O&M, allows you to buy the high quality product. Quite frankly, a lot of what's out there is not high quality right now, and that's part of the whole commoditization discussion. Buy high quality product and install it well. Then you are, after the cost of installation is covered, which with a higher PPA it would be more rapidly, then you're right, it's a perfect market. But it's got to hit all of those things.
Yeah.
And that's always been our problem historically. What was the feeling that came out of the webinar about actually hitting all of those things?
Well, again, I mean, it's what you said. It's wait and see. It's because we see these low prices and we all go, oh, it's another record low. But, as we discussed on our last PVs, 3 at 3, they're not being built yet. They're just bids. So we'll have to see.
I know you're really excited about this market. So it's usually me blabbing on. Talk, girl.
No, there's nothing else to say. I mean, in fact, we're actually out of time. But it's just something to keep your eye on, especially if you're looking for a new, I think if you're a developer, you're looking for something new, check it out.
And I think we want to give a shout out to all our listeners and watchers. Please send us topics, right?
Totally. Yes, we've been saying that. Yeah, give us topics you'd like us to discuss. We can go on and on and on. But if there's something that you want us to poke around a little bit and have a discussion, then please put those in the comments. Email us. Get in touch.
All right. Woohoo!
All right. Until next time. 3 at 3 on Solar PV. Bye, everybody.